te timatanga, ko ia te whakamutunga o ngā mea katoa kororea. Hareruia, ki tōna ingoa tapu rawa. Nō reira, e te ropu, e te tira kua tā mai nei. Ka tū tēnei tangata, e tū whakaiti i mui a koutou. Nō reira, nau mai, hara mai, whakatau mai. Ko te karanga, pēnei. Werohia ki Papa Tuanuku, werohia ki Tai. E tuhi mārei kura ki te ao tūroa. Turuturu a Tai e rua ana tohu. He amakura he toroa. Turuturu a uta he huia tana tohu. Whakarongo ki te huia e tangi mai nā. Hui, huia. Huia ki runga, hui ki raro, hui ki roto, huia ki waho. Huia te here tangata e tākea mai Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pā mao. Ka rongo te pō, ka rongo te ao, ka watea a Tihei Mauriora. Tihei Mauriora ki te whai au, ki te ao marama. Nō reira, ki a koutou, te tuatahi, mihi tonu ki tō tātou nei kingi Māori, te whareari ki o potatau te whiro te tuawhitu. Kua tai mai nei, kei wainganui a mātou, hara mai, whakatau mai. Maria mai ngā kōreroa, ngā mātua, ngā tūpuna, e pāna ki tērā awa, te awa rongonui, te wai Māori. Nō reira, hara mai. Nā, ka huri anō ki a rātou kua wheturangi tia i roto tēnei wā. Nā, ka inoi a rāhui, i te rā pahuri nei, ki te atua, ki te tūwhera tēnei wā o mātāriki. Nā, pehea te tohu o ngā whetū ma mātau i roto tēnei tau, te tau hau. Nō reira, mauria mai ngā kōrero e pā ana ki ngā whetū, ki te tāringa o a tātou nei koromatua. Me ngā kaikauni here e noho tunu nei kei waingani a tātou. Nō reira, hara mai. Mihi tonu ki a rātou kua wheturangi tia. Rātou e kawea nei i roto a mātou nei ngākau, i roto a mātou nei hine ngaro. Ia rā. Nō reira, haere koutou, moi mai i roto te ringa kaha o te atua. Nā i hō mai, nā i tango, a whakamoimiti tia i hoa. Nō reira, rātou ki a rātou, te hungamate ki te hungamate, tātou ki a tātou, ngā waiho tango o rātou mā hurino, tēnā koutou, hara mai, ki tēnei pito, me ki tāmaki here ngā waka, tāmaki here ngā tangata. Nā, ko here ngā waka katoa i roto tēnei hui ngā. Nō reira, kare e tūroa, he whakatau ki a koutou, mai te kāinga, mai ngā rua wāhia, mai tūranga waiwai, nei rā te mihi ki a koutou, hara mai, whakatau mai. Nō reira, i ngā mana i ngā reo, e kui mai koro mā, tēnei te mihi ki a tātou katoa e huitahi nei. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora au tēnei. Yep.
Kasi kia ora hui tātou. E taku rangatira e te tuakana e o tēne. Nā au te kupu rāhiri ki runga ki tēnei ope. Ko whakawhaiti mai nei ki roto i tō tātou whare i tēnei rā. I runga i ngā taumata kōrero ko te wehi ki te atua te tīmatanga o te whakaaro nui. E tau iho nei ngā manakitanga ki runga ki te kingi Māori ki atu heitia pōtatau te whero te tuawhitu. Au tirā ko te tangi ki ngō tātou mate. E poroporo aki tia nei i runga i o tātou marae kāinga. Au tirā kia tātou ki te hungau. Nō reira e te koro matua. Ko ia tēnei te mihi kia koa. Au tirā me ngā mema o te kaunihera. Ko whakaitia te whakatakoto Waikato Tainui e ngana kōrero ki mua tonu ki a koutou i tēnei rā. No reira kei aku rangatira, tēnei te mihi ake ki a koutou. Kei roto i ngō koutou ringa te tau manaki, te tau ora o tō tātou takiwā nei o tā maki maraura. E ki ai ho nei te pepeha, ko mō kau kirunga, ko tā maki kiraro. No reira, koutou, tātou, e noho mai nei i runga i te whakaaro ko tahi. Tēnā koutou, o tēne, e mōhi o tiana, kua whakarāpopoto te wāki a mātou, no reira kaore, ka mutungai ngā pahu i tēnei wāhanga, kia kōkiri ai i ngā kaupapa kai mua tonu kai te aroa. Heo nora e te koro matua, koutou e ngā mema, tēnā koutou, a kāti, kia ura tātou katoa.
Kia ora, Rahui, and thank you very much for your comments and our greetings back on the occasion of Matariki. When we think back on those who have passed and look forward to new life and to new challenges. And we welcome you and your delegation here today to talk about a matter that's very important to all of us. Ruku, I think in one of our conversations you said your problem is our problem, because so many of our people from Waikato Tainui live in Auckland, and in fact this is part of your rohe through the South Auckland area. It is a big challenge for all of us, notwithstanding the rain that we were blessed with yesterday. Maybe I should thank Waikato Tainui for your prayers, because they were delivered. Can you keep on praying, and can that rain keep on coming? As you're aware, and you acknowledged in your comments, that the time today is a little brief, though you're welcome to stay for the discussions that we have on the papers on water. But we now invite you to make your presentation, and there'll be a few questions following that presentation. So, no mai, haere mai, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Your Worship and members of the Council, tēnā koutou katoa. Look, thank you for the invitation. Yeah, we did a special prayer yesterday for the rain for today, and we'll carry on doing that, Your Worship. Look, we just wanted to come, and so I'll give some brief introductory comments and then pass over to Ruku Moana as our Executive Chair to finish off the kōrero. We wanted to come and share some of the thinking. Exactly, we believe that our whānau are in Tāmaki Makaurau. We believe that we are intrinsically part and parcel of the rohe. So we span both the Waikato and into Tāmaki here as well. So you're quite right that those your problems are our problems, and our problems are your problems. And so we are acutely aware of our duties of manaakitanga. Manaaki for the people, and manaki for the taiao, for the environment, especially the Waikato River. In our view, the Waikato River holds a wairua and a mauri that is second to none. In our view, Waikato is a tupuna, not just a waterway. When we, and I acknowledge those comments as well, we bring with us the best wishes of Kingi Tuheitia to the discussions. We also bring the apologies of Parekawhia McLean, the chair of Te Whakakitenga, but we do have members of the Office of the King. We have the Executive Chair, the CEO, and a number of our kaumātua. So we wanted to impress on you the importance of the kaupapa that we need to be discussing. And that kaupapa is about how do we work together to overcome the issues that are your issues, that are our issues. And so how can we come together? And Ruku's got a better steer, but we didn't come to have an argument or a stand-up fight. We came with some solutions that we are hoping that we can sit down and talk through with the Council and with Watercare about getting through some of the issues in the immediate term and into the longer term. Your Worship, you talked about Matariki, and that's quite right. So last year at the Domain, when we had the karakia, it was absolutely fantastic. And even this year in Devonport, the three of the Matariki stars are all about water. Waiti, Waita, and Waipunarangi. And so they took, the stars talk about the environmental aspects. And so this is not just environmental issues for us. This is about tikanga and wairua as well. And together we think that we can collaborate in the Matariki sense. Look back into the past, the recent past that was, but also looking future into the future that will be for the benefit of all of our tamariki and our mokopuna. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi atu. Tēnei te mihi atu. Tēnā koutou. I'm going to pass over to Ruku.
Well, kia ora koutou. As Rahui said, my name is Ruku Moana Schaphausen, the Executive Chair for Waikato Tainui. And on behalf of our people this morning, we do want to acknowledge your mana as elected leaders for Tāmaki Makaurau, for Auckland. Like us, we recognise the burden that you carry as leaders, especially in these extraordinary times. And we are happy today, as Rahui said, to offer up our help to help ease some of the burden, specifically on the water supply issue. We know that Auckland is New Zealand, is Aotearoa's commercial capital and needs our help, and that's why we're here. We want to work with you on both short-term measures for water supply, but more importantly, as we've been communicating, on longer-term solutions. You know this as well as I do, that Auckland needs security of water supply, so that means more storage capacity, modern distribution networks, and efficient use of our precious water. We also acknowledge that there needs to be a system change to improve how our water is managed, including allocation, discharge and transfers, and creating incentives to drive behavioural change and spur efficiency. We know that this will take time. It will take time to build, and it will require strong leadership and informed consumers. It will also take a holistic approach to how we manage, use and nurture our natural resources. There are many examples right now across the country that show collaboration and innovation are important change agents, and we must strive to do things differently. And I'm confident that in this room today, as the leadership of Auckland, of Waikato Tainui, that we can do things differently. So our message today is that we want to work in partnership with you. We share your goal of balancing the economic and environmental needs, and that includes investing in infrastructure and investing in our environment. We think we can work together successfully to achieve a number of things. Over time, we think together we can reduce Auckland's reliance on the awa. We think together we can co-invest in new or existing water infrastructure, and we've heard through the media, and the Mayor and I have had some conversations about what those options might be. So we need to investigate that together. But together we also need to realise the overarching objective of our river settlement, and that is the restoration and protection of the health and well-being of the Waikato River for future generations. No one can do this alone. We need to fix these challenges together, and our iwi recognise there are benefits to this collaborative approach, but success requires courage and leadership from all parties. And we bring to the table our intergenerational thinking and unique cultural perspectives to achieve those outcomes. As I said, we want to achieve the right balance between economic and environmental needs, and a balance between our two regions. This is the Waikato region and the Tāmaki region. We want to provide long-term sustainable solutions for Tāmaki and for the Waikato. So, Your Worship, today is really giving that message of partnership, of the iwi coming and offering support. We appreciate the time that you've given us, and I know you have a tight agenda, so we'll leave it there for now, but happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Kia ora, Ruku, and thank you very much for those very positive comments. And certainly you'll find that we want to reciprocate in partnership, and thank you for the communications that we've had between us. I think the last one was at midnight last night, so you had a late night last night and an early morning start. But certainly our view is that if we are taking from the river, we have to give back to the river, and that means that we have to commit ourselves to working with you to restore the river restore its health and improve its water quality. And that's, I think, the shared objective and the common ground that you and I have talked about. So thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for your understanding of the urgent needs that we have in Auckland at the moment. We face the prospect that if the spring is as dry as it's forecast to be, that this will affect the lives of our households, all of the people of Tamaki Makaurau, and it will affect industry and jobs, and particularly jobs as we struggle to recover from COVID-19. To find that industries might have to work short hours because we can't provide the water would truly be a disaster. I'm just going to take some questions now from around the room, and I recognise first Councillor Alf Filipaina. Kia ora, Alf.
Thank you, Your Worship, and tēnā koutou. Just want to acknowledge, obviously, everybody that's come through to support. My question is, what form of relationship would you want to see moving forward in regards, because I didn't hear anything about that.
Sure.
So that'll be for me to understand with Water Care, Tāmaki, or the Kaunihera and Waikato Tainui. Kia ora.
Awesome. Tēnā koe, and thank you for the question. So the form of relationship really is a discussion we want to have with Auckland Council. I've had a discussion with the Mayor about, and quite rightly, he doesn't have the mandate to bind the Council, but we want to enter into a tripartite agreement with Auckland Council and Water Care that sees us look at finding those long-term solutions. We believe Auckland Council is the right party to this agreement. Auckland Council, and you know this as well as I do, you're responsible for developing and implementing a water strategy. You have oversight of policy and planning documents. You have input through letters of expectation into the strategic priorities of Water Care. So you know, you are central to this partnership. And again, we are certainly not looking to bind the council into any operational matters. It is an extension really of the relationship agreement that we signed with Auckland Council in last year. So this really gives more teeth to that in our view. It is about supporting the principles and supporting the process to find long-term solutions.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Councillor Angela Dalton.
Kia ora, Angela Dalton tēnā, kia ora, welcome. My question is actually for the Mayor. So, Your Worship, just based on the response that we've been given, what commitment are we going to make to this relationship? Because as a councillor, I want to be involved, particularly in my portfolio, but just as a councillor, I want to be more involved in these discussions of governance and partnership with mana whenua, wherever those relationships are. But specifically right now, I feel quite on the periphery of everything that's going on, although I've been involved in a couple of workshops. But you know, the relationship, the conversations, all of us are elected to have those conversations, to be part of it. So I'm looking for the leadership as to how we all get involved in those. So you do have a mandate as the Mayor of Tāmaki.
I don't, however, have a mandate to enter into a tripartite agreement other than through this council, and I don't intend to exceed my mandate, and you'll absolutely understand that, Councillor. But you're right, the partnership, and Ruku is right, the partnership is important, and last year we signed a relationship agreement. It wasn't simply a piece of paper, it was an undertaking by both sides to work together collectively for the well-being of the whole. And while we have territorial local authority boundaries, we are nevertheless all members of this country, and the people, the mana whenua, extend into this area, and we regard Waikato Tainui as one of the critical iwi in our area of Tamaki Makaurau. So the nature of the discussion, and I won't take much time because this is the time for you to ask questions to Waikato Tainui, the nature of the discussions will be around, you know, how can we draw water from the Waikato without relying solely on the Waikato and looking at other ways of doing things. And Ruku, you mentioned, conserving this precious taonga of water, and we're certainly doing that because we've got one of the lowest uses of water per household anywhere in the country, second only to the Bay of Plenty. Also, as I mentioned before, how we can give back. If we take, we need to give back, and I see that as working to improve the health of the awa, and it's around, I think, how we can have, particularly in this situation of a dramatic drought, we can have our interests protected, the people of this city, 1.7 million of them, Māori, Pākehā, and people from all cultures, without doing any damage to the river. Because our bottom line is your bottom line. We don't want to damage the river. We want to improve the health of the river. And, but we do want to have the opportunity to put those matters forward. And after waiting for 7 years for the Waikato Regional Council to hear our application, we're still 106th in line. And waiting another 10 years doesn't address the critical problems we have about a drought that will hit us not in 6 years but in 6 months, and the dramatically bad impact that might have. So I see fertile ground for us working together to resolve this and meet the interests of both parties, in fact all parties.
Perhaps if I could just add to that, Councillor, I think notwithstanding what the Mayor has said, when you use several hundred million litres of water each day, including the 1.6 billion litres of soil that flows out to the sea every year, it will have an impact. It has had an impact over not just the last 7 years, but for some time now. So that is why partnership is critical, and we need to ensure that together we are identifying long-term sustainable solutions and solutions that actually will offer up new jobs. And we've got, and the Mayor is quite right, I did say that a large number of our tribal population reside here in Tāmaki. And so, this is about jobs for today and jobs for tomorrow. And so how we look after that precious resource, how we use it to produce kai, to produce the lettuce and tomatoes for this city, which will grow to 2 million, not before too long, needs adequate and meaningful commitment by both sides. And that's really what we're putting our hands up for today.
Kia ora, thank you. Councillor Chris Darby.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou. Rahui, just a few days ago we met on the edge of the Waitemata, at the monument, the Kurotangi Monument, your monument.
Our monument.
Our monument, thank you. And we were having a discussion just as ordinary citizens, and then we realised our positions, which was quite lovely. And Ruka Moana, great to see you again. Look, you posed a question there that together we need to reduce the reliance of Auckland on the awa. And the awa is not just the water body, it's everything that goes back to the Tongariro. We discussed this, Rahui. It goes back to the Tongariro National Park and well beyond on its edges. So just in terms of reducing that reliance, is there anything top of mind that we're missing right now that you could articulate to us in how we reduce our reliance on the awa?
I think, and thank you for the question. I think that's really why we want to come to the table. We're working on what those options might be with Warakia at the minute. But what it needs is, if we are going to save jobs, if we are going to ensure that the river is protected, then we all need to get in the room together. We need to share all of those options to really identify what the long-term solution is. So we've talked about recycling water, and all of these things come at a cost, which I know you're aware of. But again, this is where we're saying our support means that we're going to put our hands up for co-investment, but it's finding together what that right solution is. We've got to strike the balance, as we both agree, between the economic and environmental needs of the city and of the Waikato region as well. So I'm keen to really just get the commitment from yourselves as the leaders of Tāmaki to really get into the room and start talking about what those solutions might be. But again, it is around reduced reliance, and we have to do that together.
Thank you. And got two last questions, Councillor Wayne Walker and then Councillor Kathy Casey, and then we'll call an end to it.
Just a big picture question, because obviously you've got a whole lot of councils, local bodies that are effectively taking water from the Waikato. So is there an overall strategy for the Waikato? And the context around that question is, we know with climate change there's going to be less snow falling on the roe of the Waikato, so that affects Taupo, that affects the lake. And quite obviously, we need to have a long-term strategy. So is there anything in place now?
So because of what's happening here, and again, I do think better late than never, but there is an appetite now for all the governing bodies within the Waikato to come together and really work on what that strategy is. For us, in our river settlement, there is an obligation on local authorities to uphold the vision and strategy of the river, and that is about putting the river at the centre. And so I think once local authorities get familiar with that responsibility, then we can talk about how we implement an integrated strategy across the body of the awa.
Thank you. And Councillor Kathy Casey.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Your Worship.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Donna. Just to add to Rukumoana's point, the big vision is actually our relationship with our wai. When we first did the river settlement, one of the concerns is that our ability being affected to be able to have our long-term relationship. It was our food source, it was our kai, our bowl for kai, and so for Waikato, we're seeing that gradually decline over time. We have to go and buy tuna. We can't go in our awa and practice our traditional ability, teach our kids to go catch our kai, to make hinaki, to do all of those traditional practices that we grew up with. And if we keep continuing to use and abuse our awa the way that we do without thinking about what are those long-term effects. So our vision is we want our people to be able to celebrate our awa, we want our kids to be able to play on our awa, we want our whānau to be able to form their own relationships with our awa, bless ourselves, go to the river as a source of strength for our people. That's the big vision. And I think all of the communities can relate to that. They have their own relationships with our wai, with our water. So I think if you think about that and that long-term vision, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to form those relationships again, and we've got to find that sustainable way to do that. We're not saying no to development or commercial use, but what we're saying is we've got to find a different way to bring that balance back. And for us, we've lost those traditional connections to our wai. We've lost those cultural practices that our kids don't get to see anymore.
Thank you, Donna. Councillor Kathy Casey.
Marina, and you may have started to answer the question. I'm interested in the nature of the relationship between Waikato Tainui and the Waikato Regional Council. There's been quite a lot of column inches being written.
The relationship between Waikato Tainui and Waikato Regional Council.
Sorry, in what sense?
Are they part of your proposed relationship with us?
So, as I said, in our river settlement, local authorities, including Waikato Regional Council, are obligated to uphold the vision and strategy of the river. So, in that way, We meet with them on a regular basis, basically to keep them to account for what they are doing to uphold that vision. And the settlement legislation actually outlines the measures that are required to be met. So that is our relationship with them. And likewise with Hamilton City Council, Waipa District Council. So apologies if I haven't understood the question.
So there's a joint management arrangement with the Waikato Regional Council and Waikato Tainui. That was a springboard from the settlement. They also have representation on the Waikato River Authority. So does all of the iwi from Taupo right through to Te Puaha Waikato. And all of the local bodies, including the Crown, also have representation there as well. And so, and there is a number of different and varied associations and relationships there as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fesso Collins.
I'm interested in the Pacific is a growing understanding and writing about the qualitative methodology of Talanoa. And there are loose kind of sayings in Samoan where we say things like "Wana Lavanena," which kind of means we get a sense of how we approach the table, how we approach discussions. In the notion of the qualitative methodology of Talanoa, I have notions of indigeneity, wairua, the spirit, truth, and how that truth is established. I'm not sure that I know quite how to ask this question in English. I'm interested to see in how you believe the discussion, the Talanoa, the deliberations can be had, and what premise of indigeneity and the sense of truth that will come from forming those discussions.
That's pretty much our daily bread, is to provide the cultural view, especially founded in Te Tiriti o Waitangi. But more than that, it's about the protection of not only the taiao, but of the people as well. And so you can have your westernized scientific view, but if you don't have the cultural view of the tangata whenua, then it's no good. So when you fuse the two together, or actually multiple strands, just like we say, so we say ka whakamoanatia ngā awa. And so all of the rivers flow to the moana, and the moana is the captivating sort of entity for all of the water flows out into the moana. And if we can have that with all of the key and core perspectives, especially from a cultural narrative, from a scientific narrative, from a economic narrative, from an environmental narrative, then all of those things aid and assist. And this is what we're trying to impress on the council today, is to allow those discussions to happen, and using the lenses of those strengths that we collectively have around the table.
Thank you very much. Out of respect to the importance of this issue and our guests, I've allowed questions to go longer than I normally have, but this will be the last question. Councillor Daniel Newman.
Sorry, having a few technical issues here today. Look, thank you. I've been listening carefully to the discussion, understanding our relationship with the awa, and also understanding where we're taking. So our primary take comes at the bottom of the catchment, at a point where the water is almost becoming saline because we're close to the sea. But within that catchment, there are a lot of authorities that are also taking and also need to be contributing to the health and the well-being of that river. I most certainly want to ensure that Auckland Council, that Tāmaki Makaurau, is doing its fair share. What I don't want is for us to be doing our fair share and to discover that others are freeloading up the catchment. So I want to have some assurance as to what other people, other authorities are bringing to this discussion to ensure that all of that catchment is in a good space, because we're at the bottom of it. What we are taking is actually pretty degraded water, and it's almost saline beyond the pipeline. So can you give some reflection about those things, please?
Sure, and I think that's a good question to put. And so our responsibility as a kaitiaki for the awa is to keep others to account for the activities, and so that includes both local authorities and industry. We've got a number of energy companies along our awa, and so we apply the same approach and scrutiny. Yeah, so, and in terms of the arrangement or the discussions we want to have with Auckland Council, what we're proposing is a working committee or working party, because we need to get to the nub of those sorts of issues and put it all on the table and together identify how we move forward to ensure that, we're not just putting up the barriers, but how are we going to insist and plan for long-term sustainable solutions to this.
I'm sorry. Can I just add to it? It is a mind shift change as well, because for far too long everyone's kind of, where the Waikato Rivers generates 1/3 of the country's electricity, can get up to 50%. It's got all these uses. Commercially, it's one of the most utilised rivers in this country. So for a long time, people have always thought of it as a commodity. And so it is a mind shift change around how we do things differently. And everyone has to take responsibility. It is not just the tribe's job to advocate in the best interests of our awa. It is everyone's job to do what they can to invest in the overall health and well-being. So, I mean, we do hold people to account. We spent, prior to our settlement, we spent about $2.8 million fighting in court.
Just to have the conversation.
Yeah, the original drought, I was one of the young graduates back in the day, taking evidence from our kaumātua. And, that was back in the early 90s. So I've seen it. I've seen our people's fight around the health and well-being of our awa. And so for us, it's everyone's got to change. Everyone's got to take responsibility. It's not just our tribe's responsibility.
Thank you very much for that. Look, in concluding, can I first of all acknowledge Kingi Tuheitia and to pass on the regards and the respect of this council to the King. Can I also acknowledge you as Te Iwi Manaki this year, our host iwi for Matariki, and thank you for the contribution that you are making there. I think it is a good idea to have a working party, Ruku. You're very familiar with this document. It was produced to the Waikato Regional Council 7 years ago, and it sets out what Wārakia regarded as all of the environmental impacts. And it sets out, to take up Councillor Newman's point, that I think the river would be lowered by that much, according to this assessment, at a point 23 kilometres from where the river becomes saline. But we want to work with you around the assumptions and the evidence provided in this to make sure that you're comfortable with the perspective that is taken. If I can reiterate, our bottom lines is we want to do no damage to the river. We respect the fact that there are other people also with claims to take from the river, and we are ready to put back to the river in terms of riparian planting and the range of other things that we can work on together to try to restore what has been damaged over 100 years. A long, long time. It's time to stop damaging, and it's a time to repair. But we also, we are looking at a range of different things, and today we've got new initiatives on tank water in the city. We know that the river is an important part of the sustainability of this city of Tamaki Makaurau, and we know that we have an obligation around this table not to let the people of this city go without water in their homes or at their workplaces, not to lose thousands of jobs that might be lost if we haven't explored every way to try to get the water that this city desperately needs, and quickly. it might be a 1 in a 200 year drought, but with climate change, we don't know whether it's a 1 in 5 year drought or a 1 in 10 year drought, and we need to work together on those issues as well. So thank you very much for your very clear and very fair presentation today, and I look forward to continuing to work with Waikato Tainui to build on the common ground and to sort out the areas where we may have a different perspective, because there will be those areas as well. So thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to move, and I'm going to ask Councillor Dalton to second our thanks for your presence and the report and the submission that you've made to us today. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no, carried. And if I can just declare an adjournment for 5 minutes while I farewell our guests. Thank you very much.
Your Worship, just to say thank you again to you and to the Council for sparing some time. We do think that this is an important kaupapa. Tawhiao, King Tawhiao said in his time, ko tōku awa koiora me ona pikonga he kuratangi hi au te mātāmuri. O my river of life, each curve is more beautiful than the last, and we have a responsibility to make those curves as luscious and as beautiful as we possibly can. So tēnei te mihi atu, tēnā koutou. We didn't bring our kaumātua for nothing, so in the adjournment we're going to sing you a song. Kia ora. He wai mau, katoria he wai mau, kai te ki te pua o wai kato te awa he piko he toni wha, he piko he toni wha. Ia tu patora te kauri koe I mau taha o wai kato whakamau to titiro ki ta whitira ko tau piri te mau ngā pota tau te tangata te mau I o te motu he ki ngā rawa hi atu ranga wai wai mō te kingi tanga te toni whakamutunga a mātu kaera au e hoki au e
Kata kata mai ki mui a kata e